welcome to Tim Conley Drums. Well, as you can see, I'm not in my normal place where I film. I'm actually in Montreal in a hotel. And I thought, what better time than now than to get on here and tell you guys a few stories about some of the hotels I've stayed at as a musician. Now, I have not been in band situations where I'm on a high budget tour. I'm certainly not in any bands or have ever really played in any bands that had a high budget and we were living the high life and staying in high-end hotels or even high-end, motels for that matter. So I just want to tell you guys a couple stories about a few places that I stayed at in the US and Canada. Now, the first place was just a small tour. I think we only did on this tour maybe 15 dates total. It was a very small US tour. I think we were in Ohio. I can't remember the name of the venue we were playing at, but what happened was when we got to the venue, this particular venue, and most venues are like this, they have a place for the band to stay. And either it's a connecting hotel or a hotel that's nearby or something like that. They usually put the band up somewhere. Now, this particular place in Ohio that we were playing at, which actually was a decent venue and had a pretty decent sized stage and probably around 750 to 1,200 people capacity. So it was a pretty decent place, and we were doing 3 nights there. And when we got there, we found out that the place we were actually staying at, which was right behind the venue, they had a little hotel where they would keep and use for guests and or bands that came through. But there had been a fire 2 days or 3 days previous, so we couldn't stay there because of the damage, the smoke, the water, etc., etc. So they had to figure out where they were going to put us. And they came up with this place a little ways down the road, not very far down the road. It was a strip club. And this particular strip club always had women coming in from out of town. So they had accommodations. So what they ended up doing was they ended up putting the band and this very small crew that we had, there was 8 of us in total, into the strip club accommodations where the girls usually stay, but they blocked off 2 rooms for us. Okay, great. It is what it is, we'll manage. So we decide that after we get set up, when we get to the venue, that we're going to go and check the accommodations out. So we get to the place, and like I said, just up the road, short walk up the road, and we go in there, and the manager of the strip club has no idea what's going on. So right off the bat, we're like, oh man, this is a disorganized situation. Maybe our manager spoke to the owner of this place, but the owner didn't tell the management what was going on. So after, 20, 25 minutes of trying to convince this guy that this deal has taken place and we're supposed to be staying here, I remember asking, can we at least just take a look at where we're going to be staying? Can we look at it? He says no. So we're like, what are we going to do? So we leave. We go back because we had to start to prepare for our show that night. At the end of our show, which was okay, it was an okay show. We had a good turnout and everything, decent evening. At the end of the show, we go to our manager and we say, they don't know what's going on over there. We want to go to where we're going to sleep. We want to, it's the end of our night. We're done. We just want to go and relax. He says, just go over there. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. So we go over there and we don't even know. Like I said, they wouldn't let us see. So we didn't even know where the accommodations were. Found out later, of course, it's in behind the place, but we didn't know. We get there. Different manager still doesn't know what's going on. It wasn't until about 2 a.m. that the owner shows up. And when he shows up, the manager talks to him and the owner says, oh, yeah, they can stay in room, 6 and 7, whatever the rooms were, I can't remember. So, okay, they finally let us into the room. Well, hotel hell. Gordon Ramsay would have a nightmare with this place. It was filthy, grimy. I mean, it was obvious that the girls were using it as a landing pad for some of the customers in the strip club, that they were taking them back here, and it was gross. But we're a band on the road. We're kind of used to this to some degree, but we weren't used to this level. But anyways, we're tired. We're just like, yeah, okay, thanks very much. They give us our keys. We end up having to share a bed. There's nothing worse than having to share a bed with another smelly musician. But we shared the bed. In the morning, they did give us coffee, but we went somewhere else to get breakfast. I sure as hell didn't want to eat there. So while we're out eating breakfast and whatever, we're sort of thinking about, well, are we just going to suck this up, or are we going to say something, or what are we going to do? Well, in the end, we just kind of sucked it up, because we're only there for 2 more nights, and they're not going to change. Nothing's going to change just because a band comes through town and complains, whatever. So we decided, rather than causing problems, we're just going to suck it up, and we are going to stay there and just do our thing, whatever. So the day passes, and into the evening, and we decide to just stay at the venue rather than staying much in the room. But we go back to the room to get changed, whatever, and we go back to the venue. We do our show, which was fine. Show was fine, good turnout, and then we go back to our room at the end of the show. I'll never forget this. I opened the door, and there's 2 guys and a girl in our room. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? What are you guys doing? Well, these guys are patrons from the strip club, and the girl's one of the strippers. Oh, I'm just entertaining my friends. We're just talking, whatever. And I'm like, well, you guys aren't supposed to be in here. These are our rooms, because we're in the band, and they've given us these rooms. Oh, I didn't know. And well, like, how did you get in here? Oh, I just basically broke in. She basically says that she shimmied the lock. I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't find my key. That's what she said. And I'm like, well, it's probably because I got your key. So anyways, they're like, well, come on in here. Let's party. And we're like, you're in a band. You're a rock and roller. Let's party. And we were just like, we don't really want to party. We're trying not to be rude. But they did sort of break into our room, and it's a difficult situation because you don't want to stir up trouble, because you're in a foreign country. You're dealing with people that are a shady nature. These guys carrying guns, perhaps. We didn't know. But at the same time, this is supposed to be our room. So we just tell them, look, we're tired from our show. It's 2:30 in the morning, or whatever time it was. I can't remember. Do you mind just leaving, and we're just going to hit the sack? So they did. They left. And again, debating, should we tell somebody? Should we suck it up? And once again, we decide, let's just let it go. So the next day, it's a repeat of the previous day, and this is our 3rd night. So the next day we are leaving, and it was a feeling of, we can't get out of here fast enough. Now, I have to admit, nothing happened the 3rd night. There was nobody in our hotel room, even though I was like dreading going back to that hotel room. But just the overall ambiance, if you want to call it, of shady people, a lot of drug use going on, a lot of noise, the girls bringing guys back and forth to different rooms beside us, on either side of us, and whatever. Just the noise of it all. It's very much a frat house kind of party atmosphere. And even though we're in a band and they think, well, these guys are band musicians. We are band musicians. We're not against partying, but at the same time, when you're done performing, for me, I don't mind hanging out with my bandmates for a little bit, but usually I just go to sleep because I'm tired, man. I'm also an early riser. I traditionally always get up before all my bandmates, and I get up at 6 almost every day as a now. Back then, I might not have got up at 6 because I didn't really have to, but I was still the earliest one out of bed, and I prefer to just get into bed and not have to deal with people. Anyways, that was one place. Another place was in Sudbury at the Colson. And I briefly told this story in another video, but I'll go over this one quickly. At the Colson's actually a nice place to play. It's not a dive or anything, but it is right beside a strip club. And at this particular gig, right after the very first night, this stripper comes up to me and says, okay, this is what I want. I want, marijuana and heroin and blah, blah, blah. She's like putting in an order for drugs with me. And I'm looking at her going, I think you got the wrong person. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. Oh, the drummer always sells me drugs after the show. It's a well-known thing. And I'm like, well, nobody told me this. And even if they did tell me this, it's not my thing. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't even know where to go to get the drugs, even if I wanted to sell them to you. I'm not a drug user. I tried to explain this to her, and she was getting more and more angry with me because she thought I was pulling the wool over her eyes or something. And I just kept repeating myself. Finally, I got fed up with her, and I just said, look, I'm done with you. Go find somebody else. See you later. Okay. The next day, at some point in the afternoon, I go to the stage area, and I notice all my cymbals are gone. I'm like, what the hell? Where'd all my cymbals go? I start asking around. Have you seen my cymbals? I'm the drummer in the band. My cymbals are gone. What the heck? Nobody's seen anything. Nobody's seen anything. And I'm like frustrated as hell. I go and tell the management of the club, and they're like, well, go upstairs and take a look around. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So anyways, I go upstairs where all the girls live and where we were staying too. And the room we were staying in was smelly. It was small. I had to stay in there, all 4 of us in one room. Now, we didn't have a crew. It was just the 4 of us. But still, 4 guys in one room sharing beds. It's always crappy. So as I'm wandering around upstairs, there's a door slightly open. And I see what looks like something shiny on the end. I can see the end of the bed, and I can see something shiny. I push the door open. I knock on it, actually, but I push the door open. Nobody's in there. I see my cymbals sitting on the end of the bed. Are you frickin' kidding me? I collect up all my cymbals, and I'm livid because I'm thinking, why would somebody steal all my cymbals knowing that the band has to perform? They've screwed up a lot of people's lives for this weekend if the drummer can't do his thing. So this person obviously did not care. Now, you're probably wondering, geez, I wonder who took that. Well, turns out it was the girl that was angry at me about the drugs. She's going to get me. So she steals my cymbals. Unbelievably, like I said, I found them. I got them back. I still reported this to the management. I don't think they really did anything about it. They spoke to her. She got angry because she got caught because she was probably going to sell them, get some money so she can go and buy her drugs from somebody, whatever. Anyways, after that, which I should have done in the first place, and I learned my lesson. This is a long time ago. This is 15 years ago. And I learned my lesson. I never once left my cymbals, sticks, or anything that could easily be stolen on the stage for venues where I was going to be doing more than one night. So if I was doing 2, 3, 4, 5 nights, whatever it was, I would always take the stuff that easily could be taken with me and put it in my room wherever I was. So lesson learned. Now, she continued to hound me about the drug situation. And I confronted her about the cymbals. And I just said, look, you're stealing my stuff. You're constantly hounding me about the drugs. Like, just leave me alone, And it was like relentless, this woman. It was unbelievable. Again, I go and complain to the management. This girl won't leave me alone. You guys got to do something. I'm trying to work here. She's stealing my stuff. I'm not a drug dealer, whatever. Yeah, we'll take care of it. Well, again, I guess they went and spoke to her. She's now pissed off again because she's been spoken to, but still working. And she makes a phone call, and these two guys show up, and they're hanging out with her. And she basically is pointing me out to these guys. And I get confronted by these two idiots, like, town drug dealers, pimps, I don't know what they were. And they basically say, look, man, are you holding back? And, she wants to buy this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I told them, I go, look, guys, I don't know what she's talking about. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a junkie. I don't do drugs at all. You got the wrong guy. And I told him, she's stealing my stuff. I'm trying to play a show. She steals my symbols. She's pissed off at me for no reason. She's got to go somewhere and find somebody else. So anyways, they actually kind of sided with me to some degree. They didn't rob me. They didn't beat me up. They didn't do anything to me. They just talked to me, and then that was the end of it. But that was a nightmare at that place. The hotel was terrible. The strippers, the crowd, the actual crowd in the venue is fine, but the associated strip joint next door, not good. Really low end kind of a place, and it wasn't a lot of fun. But now, those are two stories I'm going to tell you, but just honorable mention, Ganaraska, otherwise known as the Ganny. The accommodations there are terrible. Froze my ass off in that place. No shower. I can remember hearing stories of bands in the summertime actually going, there's a creek near that runs in behind the Ganny, and people, that's where they were going and showering and getting cleaned up for shows, which kind of made me laugh. But I was there in, I think, November or December. It was freezing, and you couldn't go in the water. I was just have to, hand wash myself with a face cloth. And then there's, I can remember being in Buffalo, New York, in a really dumpy place. I can remember being in Northern Ontario in some terrible hotels in Northern Ontario, really dumpy places. I can remember being in, if you guys check out my story about being in Tennessee, Nashville, and getting a lesson with Zorro the drummer, and I by accident booked a hotel in the hood, not knowing the area, and I almost got robbed. I'm not going to tell that story now, but go and check out my video about the hotel in Nashville and how I almost got robbed. That was crazy. So anyways, guys, the hotel I'm in Montreal here is actually a really nice hotel, and I'm thankful that I'm here. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed a couple of sort of funny. I mean, they're funny now. I wasn't laughing at the time, but they're funny to tell these stories now, and they're great stories. So thanks very much for watching. And as always, keep drumming. See ya.